What's going on, guys? I am Matt O'Leary back with another episode of the Jet Report on this lovely Wednesday, January the 4th of 2023. What is going on? I am amped up to talk to you today. I love this time of year. I do, because this is when we shine, right? The offseason, even though technically it's not the offseason, we get to decide which quarterback, or we're going to talk about which quarterback we think should play in this game coming up against the Miami Dolphins, a meaningless game. I'll get into your comment questions. As always, you guys know, send in super chats to have them jump the line. Want to say also, by the way, I'm not sure how many of you guys were hanging with us last night, but we raised a lot of money for Hamlin's charity, which was awesome. I appreciate every one of you guys who came and hung out. I appreciate you guys here today. We're going to hang out, man, and talk some New York Jets football, which is always fun. Reminder, today's show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. I've been playing their head-to-head matchups. It's a ton of fun. It's a little different than your daily fantasy, your regular kind of daily fantasy. My favorite is you could do like the higher or lower numbers for statistics. You could do a head-to-head. Who's going to have more passing yards? Will it be player X or player Y? It's a ton of fun. Make sure to check it out. We're doing match deposit bonuses. So use my link, use my promo code Matt when you sign up, and you could get yourself a nice deposit match bonus. Okay, so who do the New York Jets start on Sunday? Really, if we're being completely honest, I don't really care. Oh, is that harsh? Is that painful to say? I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. There's really three guys that I think you could legitimately start. They have four quarterbacks who they could choose from, but I think there's three that you can make a case for. Flacco is the one who you cannot make a case for. I want no part of seeing Joe Flacco. He's done. He wants to go hang out down on the Jersey Shore. That's it for him. He looks completely toasted. Let's start with Mike White. If he is healthy, that's a big if, because he didn't look 100% right this last time out. You could just start Mike White because they named him the starter the rest of the way, barring injury. I know he didn't play well this last time out, but he's been the best quarterback on this roster this year. I see the argument for Zach Wilson, who obviously this game doesn't mean anything. So put Zach back out there. I've seen people say maybe it gives you a better chance to lose if you want to tank for a draft pick. That's another area where I don't care if they win or lose. I hate not having emotions attached to these games anymore, but I don't. If they win and knock the Dolphins out of the playoffs and knock them into last place, so be it. If they lose and move up in draft stock, so be it. I don't have really a strong feeling one way or the other there either. It's Joe Douglas's job. I tweeted it earlier today. It's Joe Douglas's job to figure out the right guy to take, whether they're picking 10th, 13th, 17th. It's going to be in that 10 to 17 range. I don't think they can go any higher or lower than that. And it's Douglas's job to find the right guy. So again, I'm not necessarily going to cry if they blow their draft stock and win this game. They've tried to lose before and it hasn't worked out. They've won before and hasn't worked out. Just figure it out. It's on Douglas and Salah to figure out. But also, like, for me, Wilson's looks very broken. I don't know if he should play again this year. I really think he needs a reset and maybe a fresh start somewhere else. If he is going to stay, I think he could only do damage if he plays. But I don't feel strongly enough on it where if they did say we're starting Zach Wilson, I'm not going to be up in arms over it. And Strevler is fun. That's really your thing there, is he's the bigger unknown. I guess it would be pretty wild. They could get some. It'd kind of be going full tank, I would think. But let's face it, this Dolphins defense isn't very good. Not that the Jaguars or the Seahawks or the Lions have had a good defense. So I have no idea what to make of who would be the right choice to come in and play. Again, like I said, for me, Flacco, I don't really, I'm kind of just over him and his inability to move. The other three, I shrug my shoulders. Pick one. Pick it out of a hat. Someone said that in my Instagram comments, which I think was my favorite. I want to pull up. I tweeted it out. I'll pull up and go through some of these answers. We'll go through the comments as well today, and anything else you guys want to talk about. I'm sure we'll get into offseason stuff as well, but let's pull it up. We got Flacco and have him only target Garrett Wilson. Make sure he wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. All right. I don't agree, but that's fine. Spend my money says Carr. Maybe in 2023. I like this one from Josh. What's Chad Pennington up to? Dynasty Goat says Zach. All right. Jacob says it's important for Mike White to start. See if the last game was a fluke because of injury. Still has broken ribs. If he performs, it opens the door for White to be the backup again next year. I don't really think I'm not going to put much stock into what quarterback does anything in this game. So that's not going to really move the needle too much for me. Pete Hoffman of WFAN says, give me 15. I'll take the L and to get the better draft pick. Nothing Wilson, White, or Flacco can do this Sunday to change the direction of the team for me. A better pick is more helpful. Okay, that's fair. James Nolan, NYJ Nolan, says, if Mike White plays good, I'm going to be back on the wagon again. Might be better off if White plays subpar just so I don't overrate him heading to the offseason. I love this guy, though, regardless if he's QB1 or not. I hope he stays with the Jets as a backup. I definitely think that's a possibility, depending on who they bring in and what money they're able to allocate. Chance Meme says, my question is, how does Flacco even look at himself in the mirror? He really couldn't play over these guys. He's stealing money at this point. Jets Memes also says, kill me now. Dylan says, worst quarterback room in the NFL. Not good. It's not great. Tyson from Let's Talk Jets says Brett Ratliff. Tony Eason says Ray. Nova says whoever gives these losers the best chance to lose. Dave says Anders Lee, his former high school quarterback, was going to go to Notre Dame to play quarterback. Not quarterback, but he was thinking about going to play college football. Good athlete, obviously. Is NHLer for the Islanders. James says, I feel like I'm looking at the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Ooh. AP says, smart thing is to play Zach, but these coaches think weird, so Flacco. Oh, boy. I hope it's not Flacco. JWP's not watching. Who cares? Jalen says, Strevler is the man. Time for him to shine. Jet up. Catapults me into the sun is really funny. Ryan Mitchell says, start all four. Just, what's up, man? Justin, you should follow him on, on Twitter too, but I was going to say TikTok. He has a phenomenal TikTok account with his reactions. Anybody saying Strevler should have a tea party on Sunday at 1? That's really funny. Joey wants to see White and some Strevler. Strevler, F it, says Cole. Brad Smith, love it. The corpse of Joe Namath, let 15 cook. Will Parkinson, you know him from Turn on the Jets, says Tom Tupa, the punter / emergency quarterback. So I want to know who you guys want to see as well. We're going to go through the comments here. You guys know the drill. Get at me with whatever you want to talk about today. Super chats, jump the line. We're going to start with the quarterback, see if we can figure out who people want to see. And we'll take it from there. Hawk says, sorry for taking over the chat with my rants, Matt. I'm going to be more normal now, or I'm going to be normal now. You're fine. That's what it's all about, guys. It's your platform. I'm going to try to talk about it as much, the chat as much as possible. That's part of the fun with this show. I feel like, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, it feels more interactive because we get to, I have a topic of the day and we have a little open on it and sometimes do comments back and forth on that, which is good. And then, whatever the chat goes into, we kind of go from there. Billy SBC says, comfort, full circle, start Zach, go out with some decent play and a little optimism. Okay. Maybe you do that. Christopher says, Zach needs to get away, let White start and showcase himself for another team looking for a backup starter. Arizona? It depends on what happens with Kyler, I guess, right? I don't know. I have no idea what to make of Kyler Murray the last couple of years. His career started off pretty well, but I don't know how much I trust him. Alex C says, I think Salah said White. What Salah said was that he's expected to be a full participant in practice. I'm assuming that means White, but I want to hear your guys' opinion on it too. Says I love watching quarterback power read option offense. Yeah, that's what you're getting if Strevler is going to start. John Hepburn says, should lose and get a top 10 pick. Jim Kelly, what's up, Jim Kelly, says at least Strevler wouldn't be boring. Not wrong. VR Hidalgo wants to know about future quarterback thoughts. I'm sure we're going to get into that at some point today. I want to see if anyone else has any ideas for what they want to do. Mark Miller says, LOL, I just got here and the first thing I hear is Tom Tupa. Hawk says 18 quarters with Mike White and no touchdowns. That's on the floor. Andy, bro, I can't name 100. It's a ridiculous argument from you. What are they going back at? They're arguing back and forth, arguing with Zach, I would imagine. That would be my best guess. JD Jets says, I'm so torn, to be honest. I want to win and knock out the Fins and not be in last place, but in the long term, taking the L and getting a pick 10 may give JD a lot of potential moves for a huge draft. I don't know. Yeah, I kind of see both sides of the argument on it. I really do. That's why I'm not going to let myself get upset if they win the game or if they lose the game. It's going to be, it is what it is. I want to see some stuff from some of the young guys in this one, and from guys who are going to be here in the future. You know, I don't necessarily care about guys who, and that's harsh. The point is, I don't necessarily put much stock into what guys who aren't long-term answers here are going to do in week 18. That's a much nicer way of putting it. Jacob Finnegan says, hello. What's up, man? Christopher says, I would love a win just to have the Finns be miserable with us. And yeah, not finish in last place. That's, I guess, a nice silver lining there. Random Jets fan says, is Hackenberg available to step in? Maybe. I don't know what he's doing now. Paul Samuel says there's a quarterback carousel every season, but this will be a particular interesting offseason card. Jimmy G, Tannehill, Brady, Jackson, and Rodgers all may find new teams with real implications too. JD Jet says, true, best way to think about it. I really hope they give JJ Clemens and Ruck a ton of snaps. I don't know if, like, Salah today didn't seem like a guy who is ready to just play the young guys. I think, in fact, he said the opposite. They're going to play the game to play the game. I don't know if that's the right idea. I don't know if that's what I would do, but it would be nice to see Jeremy Ruckert get in. It'd be nice to see more JJ and Michael Clemens. It'd be nice to see more Bryce Huff, who played like 7 snaps each of the last few games. That's ridiculous. Hawk says we're arguing about how long it takes to develop a quarterback, and he seems to think 2 seasons is enough. I say there are several examples of quarterbacks taking 3 to 4 years, and that's the norm. Not debatable or worth listening. Okay, yeah, we've done that a lot, so I'm just respectfully gonna take this one in a different direction here. Focus on quarterback for this game and potentially future. So, I mean, I guess that kind of goes into it, but anyway. Mr. McMoney. Okay, I like this one. We're going to go a little positive here, a little different direction. He says, Matt, what's your favorite Jets game of your lifetime? So that's an easy one for me. And that would be Jets Patriots in the playoffs in the 2010 season. That is the biggest Jets win that I've seen. Yeah, it was just, no one expected them to win that game. They got blown out in New England during the regular season. They were massive underdogs. No one believed in them, and they came out and laid a whooping on the New England Patriots in their own building, knocking out the 1 seed. Yeah, they were the 1 seed. They beat the Colts on a last-second field goal, which was fun. That was a fun one. And then that next week was New England. We don't have to talk about how it ended. I still not over that loss up in Pittsburgh, but fun one for sure. Sergeant CVO says, I'm refusing to root for losses. That's okay. And I think you have every right to. The only time I think it was silly not to was in 2020 when you had Gase, who was going to get fired at the end of the year, and Darnold, who they were going to move off of. When it was an old roster, there wasn't really much there. You wanted them to blow it up. That was the only time I think I really openly rooted for losses. 2017 was more numb. 2018, kind of the same thing. 2019, kind of the same thing. 2021, kind of the same thing. most of this year, I wanted them to win. I wanted them to take a step forward. They did that for a while, and now back here in week 18, I'm not rooting for them to lose. If they lose, I'm not going to be upset. If they win, I don't know if happy is the right word, but I'm not going to be upset that they won either. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you guys, but I'm kind of just flatline. I don't have much emotion in this one. JD Jet says Huff defensive MVP next year, calling it now. He's got to play more snaps. He hasn't played that many snaps, man. It's unbelievable. I'll pull it up right now for Bryce Huff. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see the full screen on this, but we will do our best here. Where is he? Bryce Huff. Okay, yeah, I guess I could minimize the chat and here, and then you'll be able to see it. But Bryce Huff, the last few weeks, 10%, 8%, 28%. I know they were getting gashed in the run game, but he's one of your better pass rushers, and he's getting 6 and 7 snaps a game. I don't think that's wise, personally. Mike the Dog says, start Wilson. We're not going to win. Let our bus get some experience. Okay. I guess that's a tank thought, which is fine. Tank thoughts are okay if that's what you want. Mark Miller, I like this one, says, starting Strev and ending the Finn season with him would be absolutely hilarious. Kareem says, cut JFM, cut Lawson, clear that 26+ million, address offensive tackle, quarterback, wide receiver, and free agent. Prioritize edge round 1. He names a few. Wilson versus studs. I'm not necessarily looking to cut JFM. I would prefer to restructure Lawson. It's going to be very costly you're going to have to spend, if you're spending on a quarterback, that's going to be, let's say, $30 million. And then a starting tackle is going to be high teens, 18 million, something like that. That's going to be costly. I want to go offensive tackle in the first round personally, but that is definitely a route that they could go. Eric says, Matt, play your 4-year-old video of his anemic. Okay, wait, hold on. Matt, play your 4-year-old video on his anemic the Jets offense has been since the 1960s. Fan not getting value for their time and money. It ain't good. It isn't good. It's not. Their offense isn't good enough. It's actually scary that they might not have someone throw more 10 touchdown passes in a season for the 3rd year in a row. Right now, Wilson's leading the way with 6. Last year, Wilson had 9. Darnold had 9 the year prior in 2020. Not good enough. They haven't had someone throw for 20 or more touchdown passes since Ryan Fitzpatrick in 2015. Woof. Not good enough. JR Hidalgo says, I am fine with Zach Wilson starting. What do you have to lose? That's fair. That's fair. I think for his own good he shouldn't play, but you don't personally have a lot to lose. So if they play him, they play him. JD Jet says can't keep Carl at his price. I agree. I think he restructure, but then he goes, if he restructures, I'd love to have him back, but his production is not where it needs to be with what he's making. And this team is deep at D-line minus IDL, in my opinion. Green and White Militia's hanging with us. He says, I think cutting Lawson would be a mistake. Restructuring is ideal. That's my preference as well. You can maybe do it with CJ Mosley. You can't outright cut him unless you market a post June 1st cut, because that is It's a massive difference. I'll pull it up from over the cap, and you can't really keep him at his current price either. So hang on, give me a second. I'm gonna pull up his stuff. So here we go. If you were, if he was to, this is, we're looking at CJ Mosley here. In 2023, his cap number is 21.476. If you were to cut him pre June 1st, it would be 14.9 million in dead cap. It would free up 6.572. Again, you could restructure, or if you wait or just designated a post June 1 cut, the dead money is 4.476 and you save $17 million that way. Again, you could restructure it and restructure it a couple of different ways. There's not like one recipe to restructure. So they did that last year. You might do it again because I don't think you could just say, all right, we're cool with keeping CJ Mosley at $21.5 million a year. That's not going to happen. Paul says if JD spends on a quarterback, most of the cut candidates will be back on restructured deals. I can only really realistically see Corey Davis and Carl Lawson cut. I think Corey Davis is someone that is going to get cut. Could you restructure? Yes. Could you live with this contract? Also, I suppose, but he can't stay healthy and has had a ton of big mistakes, drops, penalties. Not the greatest. JD says not having a quarterback throw over 10 touchdowns in 3 years is unacceptable. In my opinion, Mahomes does that on an off month. Yeah. In today's league and in today's offensive output, it's unfathomable. I know there were injuries and just it ain't good. Alex T thinks Lawson will probably have a big year next year if he is continuing on the health trend. That's definitely a possibility. I think recovering from the Achilles injury obviously hurt. JD Jet says our run offense is a huge indication of the floor. There's no creativity. Teams know what we're doing every play. Was creative last year with less talent. Don't know what happened. Yeah, and like we talked about yesterday, whether it be on the stream or on today's podcast, actually, too, the Just Jets podcast. If you haven't listened to that yet, make sure to go and check that out. They very well could scapegoat him, but if they do bring him back, I still think it is important to bring in a veteran offensive coach, be a quarterback coach, passing game coordinator, something. They need a veteran offensive guy who's been there. That staff is too young on that side of the ball. They need someone else there. They didn't replace Knapp after he unfortunately passed away. Mark says CD's drops are always at the worst time. That is true. It's almost uncanny how he can always seem to get them in at the exact worst time. Not great. The big fella says bring on Baker. I don't think that it is happening. I don't think they're going to bring on Baker Mayfield. He has been okay since joining the Rams, but not phenomenal. And I think he's going to stay there as a backup to what do you call it? As a backup to Stafford if he returns. If not, maybe he is your bridge to the next guy. I don't think that is a long-term answer, and there are other more intriguing options out there. Micro Fox chimes in, says the Jets need a good health and conditioning staff. It seems like the Jets are more banged up compared to other teams. It certainly does. It started out okay this year and then really just fell off the rails with these injuries. They had a ton of injuries. JD Jet says any free agent wide receivers who are bigger possession guys would really like to move on from CD. Drops are killers, and he's always hurt. Honestly, I know he's not a popular choice, but he's a free agent and he fits that bill. I think Alan Lazard is someone that you should look at. He fits the bill in terms of size. He's around the same age, or it might be a year younger than Corey Davis. He's 6'5", 227, has 747 yards, 5 touchdowns this year, and is an elite blocker. He is a very good run blocker. Worked in the Matt LaFleur system, likely could work if they retain Mike LaFleur. They need a big wide receiver who can block. Alan Lazard fits that bill. Does he need to be a wide receiver 1? No. Does he need to be a wide receiver 2? Probably not. He needs to be a third option, which I think he'd be a pretty decent third option. Kind of similar to the role that Corey played, but hopefully just a little bit more consistent. Mark Miller says Berrios has been awful since the Vikings game. He is playing scared in every capacity at the wide receiver position and on special teams. He's been what a step back from him as an all-pro last year to just a complete letdown so far this year. Not good. Cream says Juju is the ideal wide receiver 2. Projected value is currently around $9 million. Also still only 26. What's his 6'1", 215? Okay. He's been all right. His best year was his second year in the league and has never done anything close to that again, but he's solid. I wouldn't scoff at that idea. He's not my favorite idea, but I don't think I would scoff at it. JD says, I'd be for Lazard, need blockers and big bodies to help in the red zone. Hawk says Lazard does fill that big body role. JK says Lazard should be cheap too. Dave says, I would love Lazard here. Random Jet fans, give me Lazard or Juju or Lazard. Jacoby Myers is an interesting one. I think he might be a little bit more costly, but that's another guy who can block. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, 771 yards. He's gone over 700 yards the last 3 years. Has 5 touchdowns this year. Is 26 years old. That might be another. Someone like that. I don't think you're looking for, like I've seen people say Mecole Hardman would be a cool gadget guy to get, but I don't think the Jets don't need another 5'10" receiver. They really need a big wide receiver who can block. Myers. Again, to me, Lazard is the one who fits that bill the best in looking for a red zone threat who can catch and block. JK says rather try and rock it with Mims than spend that 10 million at that position. Fair. Yeah, that's someone who hasn't been consistent enough. Now he did take a big step forward, I thought, this year as compared to last year, but it's not enough for me to say I am comfortable riding with him as a third option. Wide receiver 4, sure. Vincent says a deep threat like Shark. I'm what his cost would be, and he's still relatively young, 6'4", 198. He is how old? 26. His problem is the number of games that he played. He played 11, 15, 13, 4, and 10 in his 5-year career. That's another downside there, unfortunately. Jets Forever wants to see Hyatt in round 1. I don't want to take another receiver in round 1. I think offensive line is the way to go. Offensive line, linebacker, safety, potentially center. Those are all positions of need. Mims would be used more in any other system, but under LaFleur, I don't understand what the problem is. He was good under Gase. And maybe if they change the play caller, then maybe that would unlock Mims. I wouldn't bet on it. I don't think he was abysmal this year, but I don't think he's going to be the guy that we all thought he was going to be coming out of Baylor. Dave says, "Do the Jets have a long over-the-shoulder catch touchdown this year?" I don't think so. Corey Davis in the Browns game, right? That's the one that jumps out to me. I think that's the only one that I can remember. So someone else chime in if you remember one. Cream says Hyatt in round one makes 0%, makes 0 sense. He's playing 90% of his college snaps in the slot. Needs someone with size. I tend to agree with Kareem there. But then Adonis says Hyatt is a Megatron type kind of player. So which which is it? Is he a 6'5" receiver or is he a slot guy? He's 6 foot. He's not necessarily a big receiver. I don't know how he is as a blocker. 6 foot 180. Good player, but I don't know if that's gonna be what they do. Strictly Jet says, when do you think Brees will come back next season? I think he'll be ready for training camp. He should, right? Because he got the surgery in October, which would be November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 9 months to July. I think that's a fair ask. JD Jet says Mims and Fant had so many pre-snap penalties. They have been brutal. Yeah, Fant is someone who's going to walk. They're not bringing him back. He's a free agent this year. I don't see them bringing him back. JK says, did you see the stat? We haven't had a quarterback throw for 10 passing touchdowns in a season since 2019. Yep, I did. That is abysmal. That is terrible. Keep it simple. RC says we need a left tackle. Should be first pick if available. Otherwise, trade down. Yeah, I'm with you. Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones. I think both guys would be really nice adds to this Jets team. Billy SBC says, start Zach the final game. Don't send the kid into the offseason feeling like a failure. What happens if he comes in and it's more like the Jacksonville game? How's that going to make him feel? I guess positive spin, you lose and improve your draft stock. You could spin it that way, I guess. Micro says receiver isn't a priority. Priority is offensive line, linebackers, maybe safety, but I can live with our safeties with how good our corners are. I disagree. I think they need safety as well. Offensive line, linebacker, safety are 3 positions that the Jets should be attacking. They need a depth receiver, maybe a developmental quarterback, maybe an interior defensive lineman. Jets forever. Thanks, Mekhi Becton, who hasn't played in 2 years, is the franchise left tackle. Jake and Bake says, Matt, what are your thoughts on Jordan Battle? I really liked him a lot. I wanted the Jets to draft him last year. I absolutely think that is someone that can be a target for the Jets this year. I like him a lot. 2nd, 3rd round, somewhere around then. JK says, I also don't understand why we don't try to blitz more with this defense. 2 lockdown corners and okay safeties. We should be blitzing more. I think it's they don't have guys over the middle of the field is the issue. Alfred asks, what are your thoughts on Peter Skoronski? That's the other tackle from Northwestern, I believe. I like him. I don't know if he is going to play at guard or tackle at the next level. It's going to be dependent on his arm length. So that might be an AVT situation, which isn't bad. Versatile offensive linemen aren't. That's not something I'm going to shy away from. Is he my preferred option? No. I'd say he's probably my 2nd or 3rd offensive lineman that I'd be looking to draft. Billy says there was a time when the Jets led the league in passing this season, and guess who was the quarterback? You guys need to stop the Flacco stuff. Did you watch him against Buffalo or any other time when he had to stand in the pocket and try to make throws? He had one really good half against the Browns and led an amazing comeback. He was terrible against Baltimore. All the production was in garbage time, and he wasn't good against Cincinnati. He fumbled every time he got hit. How many times did he fumble? He fumbled one. He had one, two, three, four, five fumbles. Four of them were lost, and three interceptions. So he had three, four, five, six, seven turnovers in 3 games and 3 plays in the Buffalo game. So in essentially 3 games, 7 turnovers. 7. Brandon, there we go, says we need to fire Rob Calabrese and get a veteran offensive coach. That's what I think the move is. I agree. Cole says, who's your ideal realistic starting quarterback next year? Derek Carr. Is he perfect? No. Is he less injured than Jimmy Garoppolo and better than Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes. I think the two most realistic options are Carr and Jimmy G. I would prefer Carr of those two. Joe says, I think they plan on starting Adams at free safety next year. You could. He's been better. Not perfect, but Hawk says we need the sauce of safeties in this draft. Branch from Bama comes to mind. I don't know when is he projected to go in the first round? Ryan Branch. Let's see. Let's see where he's expected to go. Yes, he is expected to go in the first round. Yeah, maybe you do. Alfred says thoughts on Drew Sanders, linebacker, Skinner, safety, Boise State. Yes, on Sanders, a linebacker. Don't really know a ton about Skinner yet, but I'm all about linebacker, safety in the first 3 rounds. I think you have to take both those positions. Alex T says, could we draft safety or linebacker in the first round? I think it's on the table. My preference is offensive tackle, but I think both those positions are on the table as well. Dave from New Brunswick says, I could definitely see a trade down. They could. Depending on where they end up, I think, yes, you could. I have time for a few more in here, so get in any last-minute questions. Scott G says Jimmy G over Carr any day. If you do that, you're going to have to get a really good backup because chances are Jimmy G is going to get hurt. I like Garoppolo when he's on the field. He's just played 11, 15, 6, 16, 3, 6 games with San Francisco. Obviously, we know his situation with New England, but hurt in 2017, 18, 20, and 22. JK says, doesn't this draft talk just feel right? I feel at home. Yes. We're going to start ramping it up. It's going to come. Don't worry. Nick says, Matt, do you start mocks after the season or wait until after the Super Bowl? No, I'll start them. I'll start them more religiously in January. We did one already, but I will get them going some more. Kay says BYU has some great offensive linemen in the draft. Not a surprise. They have a very good O-line. VR Hidalgo says Skoronski or Paris Johnson in the first round. Second round center, Jarrett Pedersen from Notre Dame. Not opposed to that idea. Not opposed to that one at all. Mark says, I think the Dolphins are going to go after Carr. They don't have a ton of cap space, so that might be very difficult to land a player like that. JC says Carr, I think, is a good fit for New Orleans. That is a team you have to worry about. Washington's a team you have to worry about. I don't think the Colts are going to be in play. I think they're going to take a quarterback. Yeah, I think the top three choices would be the Saints, Washington, and the Jets. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. We're going to come back tomorrow with another stream. We'll have a different topic. We'll get into it as always. Make sure to check out Just Jets if you haven't already. Tomorrow we'll have the preview. Not that too many people care, but we'll have a preview for the final game of the year, do our predictions. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Matt.